You know how every single one of us, at some point, has that one person in our life who seems to have an invisible radar for where our boundaries are, just so they can step right over them. You can be minding your own business, living your life, maybe even trying to keep the peace, and here they come. The critic, the manipulator, the one who knows exactly which button to push. And if you've dealt with toxic people before, you already know they don't stop just because you ask them to. They stop when you make it impossible for them to keep going. But here's the catch. We've been taught wrong about how to handle them. We've been told, just ignore them, be the bigger person, kill them with kindness. Sounds nice, feels moral, but you know what? That's exactly what keeps toxic people in your life longer than they should be. Here's the thing most people miss: toxic people survive on access. Access to your time, your attention, your energy, your emotions. You can't starve a fire if you keep tossing wood into it. So when I say, do this once, and you'll never have to deal with them again, I'm not talking about a magic sentence or some Hollywood confrontation scene. I'm talking about something much bigger. Changing the way you allow yourself to be in their presence. It's not revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about removing the stage they've been performing on and the audience they've been feeding off of. Think about it like this. A toxic person is like a bad actor who's only in the play because the audience keeps clapping. The moment you stand up, walk out, and stop buying tickets, their career with you ends. So what's the wants you do? You cut off the fuel. You set a boundary so solid that it doesn't wobble when they push on it. And the boundary isn't just a sentence. It's a decision. One single decision that says, I will not give you the chance to drain me again. And here's the truth that might sting. If you've been dealing with toxic people for years, it's not because you're weak. It's because you've been conditioned to think protecting yourself is rude. Somewhere along the way, someone taught you that saying no makes you selfish. And toxic people love that. They love it because it means they can keep using your politeness as their permission slip. But if you flip that belief and start thinking, me protecting my energy is actually me protecting my future, the game changes instantly. So here's how you do it. The next time they try to pull you into their chaos, whether it's gossip, manipulation, gaslighting, whatever, you give them the shortest, clearest, most unshakable response you can. No. And here's where most people mess up. They say no, but then explain. They start giving reasons. They start defending themselves. That's just handing toxic people more ammunition. You don't need to justify why you won't step into quicksand. You just don't step in. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if they get angry? What if they get louder? What if they try harder? Let me be clear, they will. That's part of the process. You've been feeding them for years, and now you're cutting them off cold. They're going to rattle the cage. But here's the key. You don't rattle back. The more boring your response, the faster they move on. You become uninteresting. Not in life, just to them. Picture this. You have a friend who only calls you when they need to complain about their life. Every call turns into a 40-minute rant about how everyone's against them, but they never take responsibility. In the past, you've listened, you've offered advice, you've given emotional CPR over and over. And every time they leave the conversation feeling lighter while you're left drained. The do this once moment. The next time they start, you say, I'm not in the space for this right now, and you stick to it. No softening it with, but maybe later, no apologizing for protecting yourself. They might hang up. They might get offended. But here's the secret that's actually the point. Not to hurt them, but to finally stop hurting yourself by letting them in. And this works in every toxic dynamic. Workplaces, family, relationships. If you've got that co-worker who always dumps last-minute tasks on your desk, your haunts is saying, I won't be able to take that on. No explanation. No, I wish I could, but just a line. And when they push back, because they will, you repeat it like a broken record. Toxic people are great at finding cracks in your boundaries. Your job is to give them nothing to slip through. Now let's talk about the fear that stops people from doing this, the fear of losing them. Because in a strange way, even toxic relationships give us something familiar. You've been dancing the same dance with this person for so long that the thought of stepping off the floor feels weird. You think, what if they hate me? What if I'm the bad guy? Here's what you have to remember. You're not removing them from your life to punish them. You're removing them so you can actually live. There's a huge difference. When you take that once step, you're sending yourself a message that's louder than the one you send them. You're saying, I matter. My peace matters. My time matters. And that changes the way you move through every relationship afterward. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop bending yourself into shapes that keep everyone else comfortable but leave you in pain. And here's the best part: the moment you start doing this, your life gets quieter. Not lonely, quiet. The noise of manipulation fades. The constant low-level anxiety disappears. You have room for people who actually respect you. Some people will hear this and think it's cold. They'll say, but what about empathy? What about understanding where they're coming from? And yes, empathy is important, but empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. You can understand someone's pain without letting them make it your prison. You can wish someone well from the other side of the door. You can love people and still decide you're not going to be their emotional punching bag. And when you do this once, when you truly cut the cord, stop the fuel, and refuse to explain, it changes how toxic people see you. You stop being the easy target. They might move on to someone else, or they might disappear entirely. Either way, you've closed the chapter. And you only have to do it once, because it's not a tactic, it's an identity shift. Once you see your worth clearly, it's impossible to go back to begging for scraps from people who don't respect it. So yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Yes, your voice might shake. Yes, your heart might pound the first time you say no and mean it. But one day, you'll look back and realize that moment was the exact point your life started getting lighter. That was the day you stopped carrying weight that wasn't yours. That was the day you taught people exactly how you expect to be treated from now on. And the funny thing is, the second you start living like this, people around you take notice, both the healthy ones and the toxic ones. The healthy ones respect it instantly. They nod, maybe even smile, because they recognize strength when they see it. The toxic ones, they panic. Suddenly, you're not reacting the way you used to. Their guilt trips bounce right off. Their little digs don't find their mark. It's like they're trying to plug a charger into a socket that's no longer there. And for someone who's been feeding on your reactions, that's terrifying. Now, a lot of people will tell me, but I can't cut them off entirely. They're my family. They're my boss. They're in my social circle. And I get that. Not every toxic person is someone you can block on your phone and never see again. That's why this isn't just about distance. It's about control. You might have to share a space with them, but you don't have to share your peace with them. There's a difference. You can see them at a gathering and give them nothing but polite neutrality. You can answer their question without giving them a hook to hang their drama on. You can stay calm when they're fishing for a reaction, because you're not fishing in the same pond anymore. The real shift is this: you stop playing the game they're playing. Toxic people thrive on patterns. They say something, you react. They push, you push back. They throw chaos, you try to clean it up. Break that pattern, and it's like cutting the power to their whole system. Suddenly, they're left holding their own mess with no one else to mop it up. And here's where it gets interesting. Once you make this shift, you start seeing toxic behavior everywhere, not because the world got worse, but because you finally have the clarity to notice it. That friend who always one-ups your achievements, toxic. That co-worker who subtly undermines you in meetings, toxic. That relative who only calls when they need money, toxic. And instead of engaging or trying to fix them, you just don't. You don't take the bait. You don't get pulled in. You let them own their own energy while you protect yours. You might be surprised at how quickly some people disappear when you stop feeding the dynamic. It's like flipping on the lights in a room full of cockroaches. They scatter. They go find a darker place, someone else who hasn't learned what you've learned. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's exactly what's happening when someone repeatedly drains you. They're feeding themselves by dimming your light. And you, my friend, don't owe anyone your electricity. Let's also talk about guilt, because guilt is one of the most powerful tools toxic people use to keep you in place. They'll say, after everything I've done for you, or I guess you're too good for me now, or wow, I didn't think you'd be the kind of person who just walks away. It's all bait. And if you're not ready for it, you'll bite. You'll start defending yourself. You'll try to prove them wrong. And the second you do, you've stepped right back into the trap. Here's how you avoid it. You learn to let their words sit there. You don't pick them up. You don't twist them around in your head at night. You don't analyze them to death. You just recognize that guilt is not a sign you've done something wrong. It's a sign they've lost control over you. And control is exactly what toxic people fear losing most. I've seen this play out in workplaces so many times. There's always that one employee who knows how to manipulate the team, always in crisis mode, always shifting blame, always playing the victim. If you call them out, they spin it back on you. If you help them, they take advantage. And the day someone finally says, "This isn't my responsibility," it's like you can feel the air change in the room. Suddenly, everyone else who's been silently tolerating them realizes they don't have to either. One person's boundary gives everyone else permission to set their own. And maybe that's one of the biggest hidden benefits of doing this. You're not just protecting yourself, you're modeling for others what it looks like to be untouchable in the best way. You show them that you can be kind without being a doormat. You show them that you can walk away without making it a war. And you show them that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. There's also something deeply freeing about not needing closure from a toxic person. This is where so many people get stuck. They think, "I'll walk away, but first I need them to understand how much they've hurt me. Let me save you the heartbreak." They won't. At least not in the way you want. Because acknowledging the hurt means acknowledging their role in it. And that's the one thing toxic people avoid at all costs. Waiting for them to get it is like waiting for a snake to grow legs. It's not going to happen, and the waiting only keeps you in their world longer. Instead, you give yourself closure. You decide the story ends here, whether they ever own up or not. You let the last conversation be the last conversation, even if it's messy, even if it's unfinished. Because in truth, you don't need their permission to move on. You only need yours. And maybe the hardest part is accepting that some people are exactly who they've shown you they are. We waste so much time trying to read between the lines, trying to see the good deep down. But if the good deep down never comes up for air, then it's not part of your reality. You have to work with what's in front of you, not what you hope is hiding underneath. Once you accept that, you start making faster decisions. You don't get stuck in years-long cycles of maybe they'll change. You don't confuse potential with reality. You see the pattern and you step out of it. And every time you do that, you free up energy for the people who don't make you play defense in your own life. And here's something else that happens when you make this shift, your standards rise. You realize you've been tolerating behaviors that the healthiest version of you would never accept. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop saying yes out of obligation. You stop feeling like you have to soften every truth so it doesn't make someone else uncomfortable. And because of that, the quality of your relationships improves dramatically. You start attracting people who value your time, who respect your boundaries, who show up without hidden agendas. It's not magic, it's math. When you remove people who drain you, you create space for people who energize you. And the more space you create, the more your life fills with what actually serves you. But you can't get there without that one pivotal moment, the day you stop feeding the wrong people and start feeding yourself. I've had people tell me, "But isn't it selfish to just cut people off?" And I tell them, it's selfish not to, because every minute you spend tangled up in someone else's toxic cycle is a minute you're not spending on your own growth, your own joy, your own purpose. Protecting your energy isn't just about feeling good. It's about being able to show up fully for the people and projects that actually matter. So yes, you can call it selfish if you want. I call it self-respect. And once you feel what that's like, once you see how light life can be without the constant drain, you won't go back. You won't even be tempted. And the beauty of it is you only have to do it once. Once you truly decide that you're done entertaining toxic behavior, it's not a decision you have to keep remaking. It's just who you are now. The old version of you, the one who tolerated, explained, justified, gets replaced with someone who doesn't even entertain the thought. And that's the power of doing this. It's not about changing them. It's about changing you. Because when you change you, everything else follows. When it comes down to it, the way you deal with toxic people isn't about finding the perfect comeback, memorizing clever lines, or learning how to win the argument. It's about deciding once and for all that you don't participate in the game they're playing. It's about protecting your time, your peace, and your energy with the same intensity you'd protect your home from a fire. Because That's exactly what a toxic relationship is, a slow burn that leaves nothing good standing. The moment you understand that their power comes entirely from your participation, you realize you've had the control all along. You don't have to convince them of anything. You don't have to make them see the light. You just have to remove the oxygen they've been using to keep their chaos alive. That one choice, made clearly, firmly, and without apology, changes everything. Will it be comfortable? No. Will they notice? Absolutely. But their discomfort is not your responsibility, and your silence is not cruelty. It's clarity. You can wish someone well without walking with them into places that damage you. You can love people from a distance that's healthy for you. And you can make peace with the fact that not everyone deserves the front row seat to your life. Once you take that step, you're free. Free from the constant pull into drama. Free from the guilt trips. Free from explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. And in that freedom, you'll find something even more powerful. You'll start attracting relationships that actually nourish you. Do it once. Mean it. And you'll never have to waste another day negotiating with someone who thrives on taking more than they ever give. Your peace isn't up for debate, and now you finally live like it.